Welcome. This is Map Marketing and I am your host, Rachel Klaver. I love helping small business owners become more confident and more capable with their marketing. So this podcast is all here to help you do just that. It's me and the help of some great guests helping you learn new skills, new strategies and ideas. Let's jump in and get started. What's the best way to draw attention and increase engagement on your content? Well, I am going to answer that question today. In fact, you may already know because of the title of this podcast today. We are talking about hooks and how to help people get more engaged with your content by using them to draw attention, slow the scroll, and help people notice what you're saying and doing on social media. Hooks can help you increase your ability to impact the people that you're trying to talk to and get them to stop and pay attention. We're going to cover the 3 types of hooks or main categories of hooks today, share with you underneath that some different options of ways that you can create hooks, and then I'm going to share with you some of my favorite hooks that I've been using on my video and my content. I have been going on a journey myself this year to really focus on improving my own content. As someone who's written for years, I'm a bit lazy when it comes to writing content, and so I'm trying to really develop in these areas as well. I would love it if you come along and listen with this journey as we share together. And as always, please come and be part of our My Map It Marketing group on Facebook. The link's in the show notes if you've got questions coming out of this episode. I hope you enjoy this time with me, Rachel Klaver, your host, on episode 43 of Map It Marketing. Hello and welcome to the Map It Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Klaver, and today I'm the guest. And today we're going to be talking about something that I have personally been working really hard to improve on in my own marketing. And I know that a lot of my clients and people in our Map It Marketing group get really confused with. So I want to help you today. We are going to be talking about something I probably should have done right at the beginning of this podcast, and that is to use a hook. What's a hook? Right. Let's go through and explain what it is first before we go through and explain how to create them. So we need hooks. We've always needed hooks. They're something to capture someone's imagination. And in old school marketing, we used to be able to say that if you're doing a speech or you were telling a story, your hook could last maybe 30 seconds. In an opening paragraph of a blog, your hook potentially could be a whole opening paragraph and not just the first sentence. But our attention spans are getting shorter. We're using shorter form video, shorter form content. We're using shorter bits and pieces to really capture people's attention. So now we normally say a hook is a 3-second moment for you to capture the attention of someone in social media, to slow their scroll, help them pay attention, and get them focused on what you're doing. A hook is a piece of content that is riveted and incredibly interesting to your ideal client. And if we want them to listen and understand what we're doing, we need to hook them in first before we do everything. It's unique, it's designed to ensnare and trap, and it's to help people stop, pay attention, and listen to your content. It also helps us to get people interested enough to capture their interest for the stuff that they might not normally read or want to understand. And so there's lots of ways that we can create them, and we're going to go through a few of those. But first, I want to talk about the 3 types of hooks. There's 3 core types of hooks that we can be doing. And these ones can be used both in video as a spoken video thing. You can also use them by creating a visual representation of them. If you're doing video, you can use them in text. If you've got like a carousel post or single image post, you could actually use that as your hook. You could use it in the caption. However you need to do it, these are the different things you can do. So the first one is you can just summarize or have a synopsis of exactly what people are going to expect when they read the content. This one's one that I quite liked because I'm a list maker. So it could be like 5 ways to pay attention to this podcast. Or it could be 3 things that you're going to learn from this podcast. Or it could be 5 things you must do for if you're using hooks. 6 hooks that you can use in your marketing message. All those different things could be part of that idea. So it could be that, or it could be this is the one thing that you need to learn about hooks if you're going to use them in your marketing. So it's really about exactly promising what information is going to be there. Or it could be, here's one thing you need to know if you want to get people to pay attention more to your comments and your content this year. Then we can have other areas. So we can have some things around the pain point or things around the pleasure point. So if you want people to feel better about watching your content, then this is a great podcast for you. If you are feeling stressed and upset about the way you're doing your content because no one's paying attention, then you need to listen to this. If you are struggling with understanding how you're going to make people really engage with you, well, then you've got to do this. So it's empathetic. It speaks to the pain or pleasure point. And so that could be part of it. Or it could be curiosity. I did this actually in the weekend. I had a nightmare. The nightmare was this. It was not very nice. So I've had, maybe over the course of my life, I've had maybe 8 or 9 dreams where I was a killer. They're never nice dreams. They're normally horrific. I wake up and go, oh my gosh, did that really happen? And then I have to remind myself that, no, I did not kill a random person who came to my house. That is not true. But I've had a couple of dreams like that. And I had this nightmare on Saturday night. We were going through a storm and in real life while I was sleeping. And I had a nightmare that my subconscious turned 8 of those dreams from my life into one big dream, a mini series, if you will. And I created that. So I wanted to tell a story about that for a video because I'm practicing my storytelling. And my hook was, how do we feel about serial killers? Now, obviously, I'm not a serial killer. I was actually just talking about dreams, but that hook captured people in. Giving curiosity is really useful. But it could also be things just like, if I knew this one thing, I would have changed my life. If I had known about how to make this one hook, it would have completely revolutionized my business. Or it could be something like, how different would your life look like if you did this thing? Or I need to tell you that this confession, I've got a confession to make about what I'm doing. All of these things are really good ways of striving that curiosity. Or, oh my gosh, you cannot believe the thing I just discovered. These are all ways to create curiosity. So you want to have a mix of them. The synopsis, which is just basically telling people what they're going to get from this, like a specific, clear idea. One is that empathetic, like getting people and understanding that people are with you on the journey and helping them understand that you understand it from an emotional point of view, either from a great or things that might be like a most unbelievable feeling when you really understand this principle, or curiosity, so giving some people an idea around what they're doing. It could be a controversial opinion too in terms of those curiosity. That can work super well as well to get people engaged. So you want to think about what those hooks are, and you want to put them in those 3 areas, and then you can think about ways that you could also create those. So one of the easiest things that you can do is you can start with a question. So what sort of questions should we use? Well, what I recommend you do is you go to answersocrates.com and you just put in a little keyword about your niche, and it will come up with a whole lot of questions that people are asking on the internet about that topic. Obviously, there's other ways to do SEO research. I've done it on YouTube and on Pinterest and TikTok, where I'm actually researching and finding what questions people are asking. But you can just do that on there and create a whole list of ones. I did it around several areas of my niche and got pages and pages of questions that people have asked. And you can physically ask that question in the video. So you could say, so exactly what is a personal brand? Well, thank you very much for asking. That could be a hook, or you could have the hook written in visual picture up the top with what is a visual brand, and then you could answer the question. So your hook doesn't have to necessarily be spoken. It can be seen on there, or you could create a post with what is a personal brand, and then have a range of carousel posts for it, or you could have it in the top part of your caption and have the answer in the single image. All of those things are using that hook to grab the attention of people. So you could ask a question. Another option you could do is you could start with a problem. You could think about a problem that someone's already got. So they might have a sore back, and you could say, do you get a sore back when you've been sitting for too long? Now that's a question, but you could actually phrase it in a way that is around a problem, or you could say, sore backs cause problems and this is why. So that might be another way you could do that and talk about it. I get pulled into those all the time. I often have, tight shoulders from poor posture, and I watch a lot of videos. If they say, if you've got tight shoulders, this is for you, I go, I want to watch that video, or I want to read that information. So you could have that information in there. A third way to create it is to do a surprise. Now, you can do this really well just by sliding into a scene. So if you're videoing by jumping into the scene or moving into the scene so that it comes unexpected, using transitions that surprise people, those sort of things can hook people in and keep people watching. You can also do it by just saying something completely outrageous if you like. But surprise can actually help people stay engaged and give you something unexpected or help people pay attention. You might want to start with a polarizing opinion. That's number 4. You could try with a polarizing opinion. So you could have something like, I hate turtles, and this is why. A friend of mine, Harrison, likes doing, I hate pineapple on a pizza. A lot of people agree with him. I happen to not agree with him. You might also agree with him, and it's okay. We can still be friends. But that can also be an effective way of doing it, is you could just actually have those different types of them on there. Or you might want to have inspire with a quote. So you might say, you know, Thomas Jefferson said that Rachel Klaver is silly when it's 6 o'clock in the morning. That could be a quote that you could start with. I'm pretty sure Thomas Jefferson didn't say that, but you know, that could be another way that we could do it. So you can use those kind of inspirational things and information to get that attention in and to get that interest in as we're doing it. You can just wow with a cool fact. That could be the 6th way, is you could wow them with a cool fact and get people to really pay attention. So you could say 97% of people agree that people with glasses are more intelligent. Like, that could be a cool fact that you go, wow, that could also possibly be a polarizing opinion, but that could be a fact that you share. It could be a fact about something that you do in your business. You could say, you know, did you know that such and such bone is the smallest bone in the body? And this is how you find out whether you've got that bone. You probably do, because we all have the same amount of bones. So you could have all those different things going in. And then number 7, you could start your whole thing with the word imagine. Imagine this and set it up. Set up the idea. Imagine a world where all the flowers were blue. Now, I can't give you that whole world, but here's a way that you can turn flowers blue. See how that's interesting? And you think, oh, I want to listen to that. Or imagine a world where dogs didn't exist. Well, that isn't so here, but I'm going to tell you the story about a village in India where that happened. That is a true story, by the way. Google the story about the monkeys and the dogs. It is an incredible story. It's a bit sad. But the monkeys actually got rid of all the dogs in a village in India. So that's worthwhile listening to. So you could use it that way. You can have start with imagine, or you can just give us a listicle. Again, one of my favorite things, that's that whole synopsis one. 5 things you can do here, 3 things you can do here, 10 here. That's the idea of a carousel post, things that keep people scrolling. So like, this is so much great information. And a lot of listicles are very savable and shareable because they give people content that's unique and interesting. So those things are not only great for pulling people in, they're also great for retaining information and also great for helping people share that information with other people. So that's a bunch of different types of hooks for different content. And they are super useful. You can also use, different ideas around, so those are common hooks, but you can also think about ways to pull that in other ways. I love using secrets. So sharing secrets is great because people are like, I want to know the secret. You can arouse the curiosity. You can share brand new stuff that they don't know about yet. You can incite fear, but I try not to do that too much. I think that can be quite negative. And I do very much like using numbers and hooks because I do think that we will then tend to watch or read something because we're waiting for all the numbers to come into play. I once wrote a blog with 37 points, so popular because those 37 points, you're going to read all of them just in case number 36 is the one that you needed. So that can always really help. So when we're looking at our hooks, there's a whole bunch. So I'm going to give you just a couple of hooks that you could try. And I'd love to see you try them and let me know if you're using them in your socials. At me on Twitter, I am Rachel Klaver. You can at me in there. On Facebook, I am at Identify Marketing, or I am Rachel Klaver on there as well, and on Instagram. And Identify is our name on Facebook. So if you're using them anywhere, I'd love to see them. But try using hooks to see if they work in terms of engaging your audience. We want to get people interacting
better, and they really do help people slow the scroll, become more engaged, and they help people respond to your messages much better. So I'm going to give you a couple that you could try. So you could try this one. I am going to need you to listen to this because it's a great hook. I just used a hook there. I am going to need you to listen to this because that is such a good one to start with, especially if you're doing video, because it creates that intensity. You could use, oh my gosh, I just learned this and I have to share it with you. I use that quite often because I'm always learning and I get very excited, and that works out super well. Here's the one thing that I learned about such and such. Here's the one thing I learned about hooks that would surprise you. You can use one hook that works really well over and over again with a whole lot of different content. If you find one that works really well for your personality, use it again and again with slightly different topics. Do you get stuck if you get stuck when you're creating content, try using a hook. Do you get stuck when you're using a hook? That's another one to start. Do you get stuck when? That's a great hook to use. I need to spell the secret on this. I need to spell the secret on hooks. If you want some great hooks, it can be quite hard to find specific ones when you're searching online. So what I really recommend you do is listen to other people's videos. And when you've noticed that you've listened to the whole way through, go back and watch again and write down the hook, because you can probably use that hook or modify it slightly to make it work for you. It's a super little trick. If you want to learn how to do this, I'm going to show you. That's such a great way. Like immediately it's filtering out all the people who don't know how to do that. For example, I'm going to teach some people how to use a cool little animation in Canva. Want to learn how to use this animation in Canva? Keep watching. I'm going to show you. It's an amazing way to get people engaged. And you know the people watching are the people who need to see that. Breaking news. My most viral video on TikTok used breaking news. And I'm a bit mortified because it wasn't the greatest videos, but it worked. Breaking news works great for updates, especially if you're up to play with different things. So you can use that. Nobody wants me to tell you this. Nobody does want me to tell you this, but that is the beginning of a hook. Nobody wants me to tell you this, but hooks will make such a difference to your marketing. These are all great ones that you could use. 10 pieces of advice I would give my former self if I had known. 5 pieces of advice I would give my former self if I had known. What a great one to do, especially if you work mainly with people who need past future Rachel or future you. If I'm working with people who I'm taking them through exactly the same journey. If I was working with other marketers, that would be a great way for me to start a video. So if you're working in a coaching system for people who are going the same journey you are, what a great way to start a hook. Life's been better ever since I remembered that I needed to start wearing earrings when my videos. I haven't done that today, but you can use life being better than ever since. You could use, here's what I would do if I was starting whatever your niche is from scratch. That's such a great one to do because it really helps those that are beginners feeling like you remember what things are happening, following and go through it. So that's a really useful one. So I really like that one. And I also I have a confession to make because you're sharing trade secrets that might be able to help people. And these are really useful ones. So these are all different hooks that can help you create different areas and get attention. If you've got a favorite hook that I haven't mentioned, I'd love to know about it. So please, when the podcast comes out, if you're sharing it, please share a hook. And otherwise, give hooks a go. Of course, the rest of your content has to be great. It has to be useful. It has to deliver on the promise of that hook. But that hook will be enough to get people continue to read a little bit further and not pass it by. So you're going to get more of a chance to get people to pay attention to you. This year, pay more attention to writing better hooks, creating better hooks, create a few that you like, work through a few different ideas that you've got, and really use ones that work very well for who you are and your style of business. I'd love to hear some of your favorite hooks. We're going to start a list of them in the My Method Marketing group after this podcast comes out. So come along into that Facebook group. The link is in the show notes, and you can actually come with us and we'll brainstorm a bunch in there. I'll create a whole bunch and line of stuff that you can use in there that you can try. I'd also love to see examples of what you're doing in there. And if you've enjoyed this and you found that this was really useful for you in terms of your marketing, please do subscribe to the Map It Marketing podcast. And I would love it if you just spent a few moments reviewing this episode or the podcast in general on your favorite podcast platform. It helps people trust us more. It helps people pay attention to what we're doing. And it helps me know that my work and this time here is really resonating with you. And it makes me work better for you. So try some hooks. Try different types, see what works best for you, and come along to the Map It Marketing group and see if we can create a big list together of other ones that you can try. Have a great week.
If you love what you heard today, be sure to hit subscribe. And if you loved this episode in particular, I'd love it if you shared it on social media. Remember to tag me in so I can say thank you. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon.